Violette1st, Bill's Christmas terrorism. Introduction. Hello everyone. This story is about losing his sanity for no reason, and committing mass terrorism. Characters, William, Gabby, Violette, and Bill. Plot. It is a peaceful Christmas Eve night in Mount Airy, Maryland. Violette and William are peacefully sleeping, and a 38,752-pound Bill is setting up deadly traps to catch Santa. A few minutes later Bill puts a venom-laced bear trap in front of the fireplace. Bill then puts milk and cookies into the bear trap. A few minutes later Bill falls asleep on the couch. 3 hours later Violette wakes up when her blue whale of a husband screams at 127 decibels at 3 a.m. because he fell for his own trap. 1 second later William hears Bill howl in pain as Bill screams he is gonna rip his arm off. 3 seconds later Violette and William put on noise-cancelling headphones and fall back asleep. 1 minute later Bill rips his arms off the shoulder bone, because he fell for his own bear trap. 10 seconds later Bill falls asleep as he starts to regrow his arm. 6 hours later Bill wakes up, and starts speedily cleaning his traps up before the wife wakes up. 10 minutes later Bill throws everything into the basement as Violette and William walk downstairs. 20 minutes later William's sister Gabby walks into the house after her 12-hour drive. Gabby then screams with horror when seeing how fat her dad has become. A few seconds later Bill storms outside with a rusty axe and his truck keys. 15 seconds later Bill speeds away. A few seconds later Bill blasts his horn. Gabby then screams with pure horror. A few seconds later William tells Gabby Bill drove off because he refused to have Violette's fruit parfait again. 1 minute later William and Gabby sprint into the house as Bill's truck whips past them. 10 seconds later Bill speeds off. 1 minute later, Bill blasts his horn. 10 seconds later Bill crashes his truck into the house, destroying the wall and living room. Violette then screams at 634 decibels with horror. Gabby then screams as Bill gets out of his truck. Bill then screams as he gets shot on the ass with a quad-barrel shotgun. A few seconds later Violette puts her shotgun away. A few seconds later Bill screams as he kicks the living room TV. A few seconds later Bill screams with pure anger as he is told he won't get any presents. 10 seconds later Violette, William, and Gabby start opening their gifts as Bill screams as he grabs his truck keys. Bill then gets into his truck. 1 minute later Violette watches his horror as Bill reverses out of the house. Bill then screams with pure anger as he speeds off. A few seconds later Bill blasts his truck's horn. The house then grumbles subtly. A few seconds later the house starts to weaken as Violette and her kids sprint outside. A minute later the house collapses as Violette and her kids speed away. A few seconds later the house collapses as Violette speeds away. Meanwhile, Bill is pulling into a Burger King parking spot. A few seconds later Bill screams with happiness as bags for his $500 order starts getting brought outside. A few seconds later Bill opens the door as the bags are slowly put in. 6 minutes later Bill speeds off with a truck full of Whoppers. Bill then screeches with excitement as he whips past his wife's SUV. 50 seconds later Bill speeds onto I-70 West. 15 minutes later sprints into a bank with a ski mask on, holding a shotgun and burlap sack. 9 seconds later Bill screams as he blows up the vault door. 10 seconds later Bill starts dumping money into his sack. 5 minutes later Bill sprints away with $60,000. A few seconds later Bill sprints away after brutally killing 20 people. Meanwhile, Violette is furiously speeding to Bill, with a skull tracker that she got implanted in Bill. 10 minutes later Gabby and William scream as they watch their dad speed past. 50 seconds later Violette and Bill speed into a weapons shop parking lot. 16 seconds later Bill robs the weaponry shop as his wife boils with rage in her SUV. 5 minutes later Violette and William run into the weapons shop with rifles. Inside the shop, Bill is beating up the owner. A few seconds later Bill shoots his wife's leg. 10 seconds later William drags his screaming mum away, as Bill starts running in and out with piles of dynamite. A few minutes later Bill speeds away with 4,000 explosives. Bill then calls the police, screaming like a sociopath he is gonna be blowing up the entire town. Bill then throws his phone out of the window as he starts throwing dynamite out of the window. 10 minutes later a police car speeds behind Bill's terrorism truck. A few seconds later Bill screams with pure happiness as he speeds around the town lacing it with TNT. 1 hour later, somehow avoiding the police, Bill speeds out of the town. Meanwhile, William is driving to escape the town as Gabby treats Violette's gunshot wound. 10 minutes later a huge explosion goes off. Back with Bill, he ignites the TNT and laughs with pure happiness and glee as his town gets blown up. 5 minutes later the FBI surrounded Bill. 10 minutes later Bill is arrested after killing 5,000 people. The end. Weapon shop.